Welcome into the LFC Transfer Room. I'm Jack, joined today by Maddie, Charlie, and a guest. Very first time on the channel, Jarrod, joining to talk about some transfers on a hot day, hot evening in the UK. Myself and Jarrod in the States. It's a normal day. But Jarrod, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the channel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Up the Reds. And yeah, excited to get started.
Maddie, Charlie, a lot of heat, but heating up Liverpool transfers maybe. Jarrod Bowen, reported by James Pierce. How? Maddie's a big fan of Jarrod Bowen. If you did not know Maddie,
he's a good player. We're sure we'll get onto that.
Yeah, Charlie, how you feeling?
Yeah, good. Just a bit too hot in the house at the moment, but you know, it'll be. Hopefully, Liverpool can cheer me up.
Hopefully they can. The hope that the rumors continue to heat up. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on the Jarrod Bowen rumor, which I think is the natural place to begin things off with, because it's kind of really out of left field yesterday. James Pierce of The Athletic reporting that Liverpool are interested in Jarrod Bowen potentially. And as we add our fifth member, Chris Stonage. Chris, how are you doing today, my man? Oh, Chris is not ready. He is not ready. But I'm sure he will be better.
Boys, hold on. I'm not ready yet.
Jarrod Bowen. Throwing Chris under the bus here. Jarrod Bowen, Maddie, I think it's only natural considering the debate we had yesterday in our group chat to lead us off. The rumors coming yesterday, what were your thoughts on the potential link to the West Ham man?
First off, I'll say he's a good player. He's a decent player. But for me, I don't think he's Liverpool quality. I think he's probably more mid-table, maybe even Arsenal type quality, but I don't think he's good enough to play for Liverpool. He's a good option, but I think he's probably fourth choice when he comes in. And then Elliott has a good few games, then he'd even be fifth choice. So why go and spend £45 million and 100 odd grand a week wages on a fifth choice option, in my opinion?
So we have a very big no from Maddie. Chris joining us now. Chris, the heat in the UK, that hurting you as well?
Yeah, man, look at me. We're in serious pain right now.
Beyond the heat, Jarrod Bowen, is that making you feel good, feel bad? Are you in the Maddie boat or are you kind of in the me boat? I'll spoil my take a bit.
I'm in the middle. Jarrod Bowen's actually from my hometown, boys, so I've got a little bit of bias here. But I would say that, you know, I would say he's quite an exciting player. He scored a lot of goals at championship level. So did Diogo Jota. Could be drawing comparisons from that. He's had a decent season this season. And just because if his name was Jarrod Boweninho, he was playing for Ajax or like Fluminense in Brazil, and he just scored 8 goals, got 5 assists in their league, I reckon he'd be a lot more touted. But you know, he's a little bit more unfashionable. I'd take him. Why not?
Yeah, Jarrod. I mean, Jarrod Bowen, Jarrod, namesake. Are you liking him?
I mean, for that reason, I gotta say yes. Like he's our top choice. No, I mean he's really not the type of name that excites one as a Liverpool supporter, you know. And as such a prestigious club, the success we've had the last few years, I don't think these are the types of names that we hear about and get super excited about, right? But yeah, as Chris said, he had a very solid season. West Ham had a very resurgent year, obviously. So what was the fee you said, Maddie?
35 million pounds is what is the minimum, but it could be likely as high as 45 million.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of 50-50. I think as Maddie said, he would be kind of fourth or fifth in the rotation, and he'd be a nice backup. But I don't know if it's worth that sort of fee. I mean, that's basically what we paid for Konate, right? So
yeah. So we have a yes from Chris, a no from Jarrod and Maddie. Charlie, ready to kind of even it up at 2. A fan of Jarrod Bowen, or are you joining the middle side?
I'm probably in the middle a bit. I'd lean towards probably a bit more of a yes. I think if Shaqiri goes and Origi goes, I think if both of them go, and for instance Minamino is also off, I think it's a definite yeah. I mean, he had a great season for West Ham. I mean, West Ham fans really like him. Obviously, West Ham and Liverpool, they're not the same prestige, but I think a really big issue is homegrown players, and he helps fill that quota. I mean, I think at the moment we only have 6 or 7 homegrown players, so he comes in, he fills that up. He's a Premier League proven winger. Obviously, he's not the Mbappes that we were linked to, or like other like world class wingers, but as proven with Diogo Jota, somebody can come in from a Wolves, West Ham. He could do a job. I mean, he's playing under David Moyes, more of a. I know the a bit better last season. Obviously, we're in the top four race for a little bit. Bit more expansive than you'd probably consider with David Moyes, but who knows? Maybe Bowen could come in, do a job like Jota did. But again, my main issue is I think he hampers Harvey Elliott's experience. I think this season's massive for Elliott. I think if we do bring in another winger on the right-hand side who's going to be Salah's backup, I'd personally prefer Elliott, and I think a lot of Liverpool fans would too, especially for 35 million.
Yeah. So that's a no, but a contingent yes if players are moved on. I think Bowen's a very important part, as you mentioned there, Charlie, because maximum of 17 non-homegrown players. Liverpool, I believe it was 19 or 20 when they had Grujic before they moved him on. So I think it's definitely an aspect there. The Harvey Elliott angle is also very important to consider. Is it impossible for those two to coexist in the development and have their development not be hampered by one another? In your eyes, Maddie, is it a case of Elliott on loan and you bring in Bowen, or is there like a decision one or the other you have to make there?
I think Harvey Elliott's probably got better potential than Jarrod Bowen, so I don't see the point in loaning them out again. We've seen in that pre-season game, and it was only half an hour. But he was unbelievable in the Championship. He had better numbers than Jack Grealish, who was older during this season that it was compared to. So Elliott's a huge talent, and if it's going to hamper his minutes, I'd rather save the money, invest that 35-40 million pound elsewhere, and then play Harvey Elliott in the minutes that Bowen would have.
But would Shaqiri not also hamper Elliott's minutes?
No, I think Elliott starts ahead of Shaqiri now.
Tracker.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit. I don't think Klopp would do that.
But Jones had his breakout season last year. Harvey Elliott had Jones got a new deal breakout season. Harvey Elliott's got a new deal. Probably gonna have his breakout season. We aren't gonna not loan him out and then just keep him sitting on the bench every week. That's not fair on the kid. He's 17. He needs to be in and around the first team, playing as well as being around them and training with them to favour his development. But I do think he's going to be world class, definitely.
I think. Go ahead, Jarrod, if you wanted to.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I watched the 30-minute scrimmage against Stuttgart that they played within the last few days, and he looked really lively. I mean, really creative in and around the box, crossing the ball well, playing some nice 1-2s. I feel like he brings that creative spark that we don't necessarily always have. Like, we have the pace, we have the physicality, the press, of course, but I think, as you said, Harvey Elliott could have like a really big breakout year. He looks primed after that loan, and he is only, as you said, 17, or he might have just turned 18. So I think he could have a massive year as like the kind of fourth or fifth attacker in the lineup.
Yeah, I think the positives for Bowen, right? Same age bracket as Jota, so he won't, I think, need the minutes like Elliott would to continue his development. He could come in as a backup and not be hampered. He's pretty versatile, can play across the front three, and he's English. So there are some positives, but again, the price point makes it a bit tough in comparison to other options. So it was indeed meant to be Mbappe 2021 instead of Bowen 2021. So a big alternative is Daniel Malen, potentially going to Dortmund. I always mention his name. What are some alternatives you guys would like to see instead of Jarrod Bowen?
Rafinha. But 45 million Harry Wilson, you'll get him. I'm pretty confident. They've been looking at Harry Wilson. We value him at 15 million. And if we're willing to spend 45 million on Jarrod Bowen, then we've got the money there. So for me,
what were Rafinha's numbers last season? Let me just have a look.
6 goals and 6 assists.
So Bowen's actually got more goal contributions in a team that scores less goals.
No, but West Ham had a freak season last year, Chris. You can't tell me that's what he's had one good season.
But then how can you say that Leeds didn't have a freak season then?
No, Leeds will be proved that this year. West Ham won't. You'll probably sign West Ham at the bottom of the table again this year.
I do agree with you, but I'm not buying Rafinha. I'm not buying Rafinha, mate.
I just think he fits best into the system. I don't know. Like, I just love a Brazilian, to be honest. I just think Rafinha is a better buy. He's younger for the same price. Probably got more potential. But I don't know. I don't think we need anyone on the right because I genuinely believe Harvey Elliott can make the step up.
Bowen can play both sides as well.
I think the versatility of Bowen. He on transfer market. I mean, I haven't watched much of Bowen because I don't torture myself and watch West Ham matches on two. And I'm not forced to at times. But he's versatile. He can play either in the middle. I don't think he can play the Bobby role, but I think there's definitely a lot of development potential. Jeremy Doku, another player linked, a lot younger.
He's staying for another year, isn't he? At his
I
club.
believe he is as well. But he's almost in the Harvey Elliott bracket where he needs the minutes to develop, and he can't just walk in, and be a backup and expect him to contribute like a Jota. When he finally gets his moment, he scores goals.
Yeah.
I think Doku is probably Mane's long-term replacement. I'm convinced that we get him next year.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
Malen really excites me. What I saw from him with the Dutch national team in the Euros was really just exciting. Like a fluidity and the pace of his game. It really stood out to me. Obviously, he missed that massive chance when they went out to the Czech Republic. But strikers, forwards are going to miss chances. He really looked special. It's only 4, 5, 6, 7 game tournament, so it's hard to judge fully from that. But I do like the look of Malen. He is 22 though, so I think he'd be entering his kind of the years where he really wants to get minutes, I'm sure, and be a kind of central part of a squad. So it would be interesting. I don't know how he'd fit with Bobby and the rest of the forwards. So, but I like the look of Malen a lot.
Let's not fall into the Euros curse as well, because we can always sign. You just think of players who've done so well after tournaments, and it's scary. But I think the only one I can remember that was good for quite a while was James Rodriguez, but even then he fell off.
Yeah.
The only one I remember is El Hadji Diouf for us, and we all know how that one ended up.
I want to test my mic real quick. I know that I've gotten my being heard all right.
Yeah, you're good now, Jack. You're good.
Okay. I was getting conflicting. I was getting conflicting reports on if I was whispering or not. So I'm going back to the less quality mic, but you can hear me. So I don't know. Maybe that's hearing me is better quality. I agree though, Chris. The Euros curses or the looking at them and their very few sample size and their national teams, it's tough to get a great look. I think Domenico Berardi also is a bit of an issue there. Was he good? Was he bad for Italy? So I think that at the end of the day, my opinion is always I trust the recruitment team. I trust Klopp. If we sign Bowen, if we sign Malen, if we sign Doku,
I don't think we'll get Marlon though, purely based on the fact he's with Mino Raiola. I don't think Liverpool have got a single player that's associated with Mino. I mean, I know we do business with Mendes because Joss is with him and Fabinho, I believe. But Mino Raiola, I don't think Liverpool touch. So he's a fantastic player, but it's just not the model Liverpool do business with, unfortunately.
I think just really quick, I think that's another point on the Jarrod Bowen thing with the agents. He has the same agent as Trent and Robbo, so potentially.
Isn't Trent's agent his brother?
Not anymore. I think he recently changed it to like a more. I don't know what it's called. It's got football in it, something. But they're under the same agency, so. But I think there's a couple other Liverpool players, so like maybe never know, could help in the transfer if it goes through.
I want to bring up a bit of a change. Also in the title is Piotr Zielinski.
Oh God!
That's a throwback
again.
That's a throwback. They had a good season, honestly, for Napoli.
It's mad because them links are strong as well. It's a reliable source to say, in it. So it's just mad. It feels like I haven't heard his name for ages. Again, another player who I don't think, seeing some of the links we've had this summer, I don't think Zielinski drastically improves us. I've seen a comment there about Gravenberg. I'd rather go in for him than Zielinski for the midfield, to be honest.
Eight goals, 10 assists for Zielinski in the Serie A.
Wow.
Again, though, 27 though. So if we're talking about age profiles,
only a year older than Saul.
Yeah, exactly. It's a weird one.
It's like Saul versus Zielinski. I think would Zielinski be cheaper? I imagine he would be. Cheaper wages? Maybe. I think so. So if it's a cheaper, maybe less talented version of Saul, is that a decent categorization of Zielinski, or am I too?
Saul's twice the player as Zielinski.
I'd much rather have Saul every day of the week if it came about. But
another one being chatted about is Frank Kessie of AC Milan. Thoughts on him?
If we can get him for the route, like we threw a massive wage offer at him. He's good. He's a good centre half. He's good at backup. I think if we got someone like him, and you'd probably see someone like Matip maybe depart. But
he's a midfielder. He's a midfielder, Matty.
Oh, I thought he was defender. I'm making a fool of myself.
I think he's like
Maddie.
a 6, right? So he kind of
Yeah,
is
he's like
defensive.
Fabinho, yeah.
With the stats I was looking at were all defensive stats. So like I was looking at them before I came on. It was defensive. So yeah, we don't need. He's a good backup for Fabinho, then, isn't he? So
He's immense. He's a
Yeah.
tank from what
He had
I've
13 goals and 4 assists in the Serie A last season. 13 goals.
Yeah.
That's right.
13, well,
And I guess my question is, what do we need in the midfield? Like, are we looking for more creativity, more of like an industrious player? I don't know.
I don't think
I
we change our
think we-
system.
I think Curtis Jones will step up as well. You know, I mean, I know he played 30 odd games last season, but I do think he'll probably get more minutes again this season. He probably won't be coming off as much. Why can't he step up? Why can't he be the Genie replacement?
Yeah.
Because he's better than that.
And our fullbacks provide so much, attacking creativity that the midfield's more kind of defensive sometimes than like a normal 4-3-3 maybe. So
Yeah, I pen taker for AC Milan. We were really being exposed for not watching the Serie A. My bad, guys. We don't watch AC Milan in our free time.
No, I was looking at them. It just brought up all defensive statistics. But yeah, I genuinely never ever watch Serie A, to be honest, or Serie A, whatever you want to call it. But the only time I see teams like that is when they cut them up against Liverpool in the Champions League. I just watch Liverpool. Like,
Yeah.
why would you watch any other team when you support Liverpool? Makes no sense.
Hey, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. I think, yes, Saul Zielinski are like Genie, where they have that reliability. You know, you trust they're available. I mean, you compare that to my boy Naby. He's got the talent, does not have the availability. So that's a big, I actually have a question. I've raised this in other streams, but I'm going to raise it again. As fans, as when we're analyzing players, should we even look at the injury? I mean, recognize injury past, but is that being talked about too much in the replacement for Gini Wijnaldum, their availability as opposed to their fit for Liverpool?
I don't think so. I mean, you look at Genie. I put a tweet on the account the other day that was comparing Wijnaldum. I think don't quote me on this. It's between like 10 and 15 games since 2016 that he's missed since he joined. I also looked at Sal's since 2015 was less than Genie had missed, and he's been playing pretty constantly until this season for Atletico. Like, he's been playing 40-game seasons, and then you compare it to other midfielders like Renato Sanchez, who's since his career started, he's missed like 50, 60 games, like with injury issues. Like, I think it's a massive, massive thing that we need to look at for a long-term midfield replacement, because with Genie, he's at the end of the day, people might not have liked him, but he didn't miss games. We could always rely on him to put in a 6, 7 out of 10 performance. Like, Jordan Henderson misses a few games for injury. Luckily, Fabinho's all right, but I do think we definitely need a midfielder who isn't going to miss like 10, 20 games a season. So hopefully that'll be Sal, but who knows?
I have a question I want to raise. Is it important that we have a backup for Fabinho? We saw his importance when he moved to the back line. I think it's obviously only a 30-minute match, but I think about how easily we get passed through, how not spineless, but he really is a great enforcer, a great ball winner in the midfield. Should we be looking at someone who can back up Fabinho so you don't have to drop someone back?
Is Henderson not the backup technically?
I think he's just inferior as a defensive mid compared to what he is as an 8.
Yeah.
You just know going into the season that Henderson is going to be the one who's used there. But I think backup for Fabinho is more important than a Genie replacement, because Curtis Jones can step up and do that Genie role. Whereas the Fabinho role we did see last year when he was in defence, like you said, he was fine. So
Leighton Clarkson.
I mean, we can't expect sort of like Leighton Clarkson, who's a kid, to step up to Fabinho's role. Like, but I think replacing Fabinho is more important than Genie. And I've just seen Steve's comments about Grujic. For me, that was stupid to let him go when he was pretty much a perfect Fabinho alternative.
Hear me out. Joel Matip as Fabinho's backup.
Just because he can carry the ball in training does not mean you stick him at defensive mid. I know he
He
could
did
do
play
it.
there a bit for Schalke when
Yeah,
he was starting his career.
he did. He started out off in midfield with Schalke and then went back. So I think he'd do a job. He looks like
Jamie
Fabinho.
Carragher started up front though and ended up back. It doesn't mean he'll be any good.
Yeah, to be fair, like if Matip had legs that didn't break every time he walked, then I would be fully behind that. But nah.
I think it's an option, We could try it out. Like it exists, the possibility.
It would be fully vibes. It would be a vibes move.
It would be. I mean, how good was his ball progression? Because I know Fabinho, he can hit it.
Unbelievable. He's massive, can carry the ball. I've seen him in multiple games go from defence to attack, and no one bothers tackling him. He don't know what to do. He just does some mad run with his arms waving about in the air, and he ends up on the edge of the 6-yard box. But so he is good. He is good with the ball, but like Chris said, he's made a biscuit. Someone he'd go in for a tackle and be out for 6 months. So.
Yeah, like we do need center backs. We don't want Matip to go get hurt because he went to do a midfield challenge.
Yes, Saeed. Let's
Ox
go.
is 6. Just stick Ox anywhere.
He can play everywhere.
Someone mentioned Gravenberch in the chat, and I've only seen a bit of him as well, but he looks like a really promising young talent.
Mino boy, though. It's another Mino.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable. Like he's going to be generational. I think again he's with Mino, but maybe Liverpool do need to start doing business with people like Mino Raiola because he's getting all the best players. So
I respect that. Steve,
so I think let's talk about Chamberlain a bit as well in the 9.
People laughed at me.
So we do need to credit Chris for innovating this idea. I think they were watching our streams, heard Chris say, stick him in the false 9, and then like literally a couple of days later, they're experimenting him. So I don't know. Sequence of events there is quite interesting. So should we? So Maddie, let me pose it to you this way on Jarrod Bowen. Ox as their backup for Firmino or Jarrod Bowen. Which are you taking?
I'd rather Ox be the backup so we can invest the money elsewhere in the squad, to be honest, obviously. But because I don't think we need to be spending that amount of money on Jarrod Bowen. I think I've seen comments about like we need midfielders, we need probably a backup right back because Nico's probably going to go as well. And I don't really want to go into a season with Gomez there. So I think we can use the money elsewhere. So yeah, I probably would say Ox on that occasion, but he can strike a ball, so.
Because if you don't know, if you haven't watched the LFC Transfer Room 1,000 subscriber special quiz, Oxlade-Chamberlain is actually only 1 centimeter smaller than Firmino, so he is lacking
1 centimeter. Hey, you think about that. Those pinpoint Trent Alexander-Arnold balls, he was already measuring them for Firmino's heads. It's a 1 centimeter shorter. Like that can make the entire difference.
1 centimeter matters, right? Every
Calm down, Chris. Is all I'm saying. Calm down. In terms of outgoings up front, so the Bowen transfer was mostly contingent on Origi and or Shaqiri leaving. Who do we see?
And don't forget, we're probably going to be looking at a small chunk of change for Luis Alberto. He's looking to put with even Lazio for about 60 million. We've got a 30% sell-on clause with him, so that'll go into the transfer kitty as well. But I do think I'd like to see Origi leave this window. I don't think he will. I think he's just going to reach onto his contract until it runs out, to be honest. But I'd like to see all Origi Shaq. I'd probably keep holding that, to be honest with you, just in case we did have a disastrous season like we did last year with injuries.
I know we were scrapping with James Pierce in the replies about finances. So I think this is actually a very interesting question. Are Liverpool actually struggling for finances, or is this just
I actually looked into this. No, I looked into this. A lot of clubs are taking out like loans against the owners. So like Chelsea, for example, have took a loan out off Roman Abramovich. So the club will pay Roman Abramovich back over, say, 5 years for the loans they're taking out to buy players. That's not the way Liverpool operate the club. It's always been sell to buy. So where people now are losing minds, it's like we only got Alisson and Van Dijk because we sold Coutinho. Ever since FSG have been at Liverpool, they have always operated a sell-to-buy model. So it's not going to change now just because everyone else is spending big money. And they're never going to change it down. And if Liverpool want to have loads of money, they're probably going to need to get rid of FSG because they'll never, ever change the strategy. It's been like that for the whole time we've been here.
Yeah, like just a point on that. At the moment, I'm like in the middle of writing an article about this whole situation. So, like comparing it to other owners, I feel like it's harsh to compare it to other clubs because they're all owned by stupid rich billionaires. We're just owned by like little baby billionaires. But going into the club's finances, like I was doing it, and from just our winnings in when we won the Premier League, Champions League, Super Cup, and Club World Cup, I think we got around 270-ish million is what I come to. And in the seasons past, it's the spend has been nowhere there. And obviously, like you can go into looking at like the loans. I know Matty said we don't do loans for players, which is true, but we have taken out loans on the stadium expansion. So the stadium expansion has been funded by FSG. Yeah. So we've took the loans out and then we paid them back like through revenue. So looking at it, there's a lot of money that has just gone missing. Obviously, I don't know how to run a club, and like I don't know where all the money's going, but I do think the Redbird investment as well. I know I had this debate with James Pierce, who didn't get back to me, by the way. Thanks, Pierce. But even him himself said that the Redbird investment wasn't going just to Liverpool, but it would help absorb the financial impact. So yes, it's not going to the club directly. It's going to just like soften the impact, wages, stuff like that. But like, I don't know. It's a weird one. Like, it's a bit annoying as a fan watching it, knowing like there's money there. But
I'm not defending in any shape or form, but they've used 100-odd million that would have been for the COVID furlough because they topped up to 100%, didn't they, when they originally weren't with the backlash. But I agree that there was money definitely that should have been spent, and I've always been one of them who feels like you should strengthen the position at the top. Fergie said it. United dominated for so many years because every year they added somebody into the team, and Liverpool needed to do that, but where is all the money? It makes you wonder if FSG is saying that they're paying that £400 million that they need to do for the Super League, but really they're funneling it back out to Liverpool in all terms of all this money, because, like Charlie said, it's a huge chunk of change that just seems to be nowhere.
Yeah, and there's a comment there as well about Red Sox fans feeling the same. So if it's not going to either club, where's all this money going? Like, it's crazy, but who knows?
My issue with the post Champions League, we should have strengthened. We did strengthen, and we used our money on signing new contracts for half the squad. I mean, our wage bill shot up, and that's not as it's costs you money very similarly to like a transfer would.
And obviously, they've just put the money into the Anfield Road's already started expanding. So that's going to be an expansion similar to the main stand where they build over it, and then probably half a season it's like where it knocks it back into the one stand. But there's still money missing, regardless with like the wages and stuff. There's, like Charlie said, there's over £270 million that we've got from winning these competitions, and we haven't bought Van Dijk or Alisson in that because we already had them. We've bought Thiago and Jota was with installments, the down payments or however. So we haven't even really outlaid any money for Jota yet.
If you look at here, talk amongst yourselves. I actually made an Excel sheet a couple weeks back on this.
Do you guys see us maybe making a massive signing, like a Van Dijk type signing within the next 2 to 3 windows that maybe we're not expecting right now, or is that
not under FSG unless we're selling someone big? I think we'd make a big signing if a big departure went like Salah or Mane, but they've never ever invested big money into Liverpool in terms of signings. It's always been sell to buy. Even Thiago, I've seen a comment before, he was funded by the sales of like Ryan Brewster. So with Thiago's 40-odd million didn't just come on a plate or however much it was. It was €40 million, wasn't it?
£25 million it was.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all. What's that? €40 million, €35 million, something like that.
Yeah.
But that was funded by Brewster because Brewster ultimately was £23 million with the add-ons in total, wasn't it? So we've never ever bought players just off the back of anything. We've always had to sell, which is it's crap because you're seeing teams like City you've got absolutely no history come up from nowhere and be able to compete in our place. Feels like we're getting left behind yet again, especially for our squad.
We say this, right? We say this as a panic. Okay, we're in the sort of limbo of football where You know, we don't know what's going to happen next season. But we have come off our last 3 seasons, a Champions League, a Premier League, and the third place finish out of nowhere. And to be saying we're completely left behind, I would say is a little bit.
Yeah, but before the end of the season, all the journalists who FSG obviously feed the information for and leak information to. That's how it works. Let's be serious. They were saying Liverpool need a top 4 finish to buy big this summer. We've got that top 4 finish, and we're being linked with Jarrod Bowen. Come on,
Jarrod Bowen's class. Man.
No, but do you know what I mean? Like, it's
I think the issue though
ridiculous.
is Jarrod Bowen is exactly the profile of signings we've made for the last decade, and it's worked. Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah. We look at the comments when we signed those players. They were saying these are crap signings, and what do they turn into? We're not going to sign players to replace the front.
We were meant to believe if we got Champions League football,
Sorry, Jarrod.
we were having a big summer. Like we were sold this mad dream by all the journos that if Liverpool get top 4, we're going to have a big summer. And now what? Do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. We've got Konate in, but I think he was already done from back in January when we played Leipzig in the Champions League. People are saying he's more or less done. So that's been done for ages. Like, where's the players? Do you know what I mean?
The fact of the matter is, you have to look at last season. So 2 years ago, we made a £41 million profit right before we won the Champions League. £41 million profit on that tax year ending May 2019. The tax year ending May 2020, we made a £41 million loss. So an £80 million swing in the negative. So you've already spent all this money on new contracts. So your wage bill's up, your profit is down, and you already spent very little. So the amount of money we spent on transfers during that window where we made profit was so low. So the people are like, where's the money? The money was just never going to be there. Like we were
never
delusional.
been there under FSG. I mean, you could say they run the business from smart. The businessmen. That's why they've got so much money. The businessmen, they do run it smartly. But in terms of taking Liverpool to the next level, if we want to be competing every single year, we need to be making big signings. If City go and buy Jack Grealish and Harry Kane this summer, how are we meant to compete with that?
But I do take exception to that idea
paper,
because
it's on paper. It's all on paper.
Because what sides have actually signed players? We've bought Konate for £35 million up front, which is a big deal. People don't talk about that. Thiago Jota was like £10 million up front. We paid 3 times that on this one player with the release clause. We've bought Konate. United have been fiddling around with Sancho for the last month. They haven't actually signed him yet. They've just agreed to a deal in principle. What top 6 club besides Arsenal with Lokonga and Spurs with Golini have actually signed a player?
But look at Arsenal. I mean, I know it's Aaron Ramsdale and Ben White, but that's nearly 100 million. And didn't even get top 4.
But they need to invest. You
could argue Liverpool need to invest for the future. We need to start making a future plan. A lot of our team now are 29, 30. We do need to in planning for the future, buying 24-year-olds who can learn from the first team players now. So in 2-3 years' time, they're ready to make that step up.
So I think a big question then is, should we sell Henderson?
I can't believe I've just seen a comment on that, right? Sorry, everyone, but I just want to throw me 10p in on about this. No, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Henderson he may not start every game anymore, but Henderson, we've seen throughout the COVID pandemic, he got all the captains together and stopped the Super League for one. All the stuff he's done for the NHS, all the stuff he's done for cyber bullying and stuff like that. He's an absolute model footballer. He's human. Yeah, no, but you know what? Like when kids are coming into the team, you want them to be learning off the likes of Henderson and Milner. Yeah, by the time his contract runs out, he'll be 33. But if he leaves for free at 33, then so be it. But I feel as though we let Steven Gerrard go too early, and I don't want to see the same mistake with Jordan Henderson.
Did we let Gerrard leave too early? Did his performances for LA Galaxy show that we should have kept him around?
Imagine Steven Gerrard just getting 6 months under Jurgen Klopp. Jarrod left a year early. He said it himself, do you know what I mean? And I think if Jarrod 6 months under Jurgen Klopp, maybe even a year, even if he'd done another 2 years at Liverpool after that, I do think he left too early. And you're losing that leader out the dressing room as well. Henderson is the club captain.
I want to. So, Jarrod, you haven't had a chance to talk about Henderson. We've talked about this since the rumors came out. Your thoughts on the potential of him leaving? And so, should his contract be ran out? Should he be re-signed? Should he be sold now to make money so it's not a Wijnaldum situation?
I mean, I do understand the concept of not letting our emotions get the better of us, but again, I think that's unfair to Henderson's talent. There's some intangibles in football that you can't measure necessarily from goals and assists or goal contributions per season, and his leadership, his work rates, the way he like captains people on the pitch, like in terms of movement, telling them where to go, like those things are so valuable. And yeah, we have Van Dijk, who's a great leader. Other players, Robbo's a great leader, but I don't think people understand just how immense Henderson is. Yeah, in the dressing room, as you said, Maddie, but also on the pitch. I mean, he's an incredible player, and he's not flashy. He's not the most athletic, but he's so smart. He plays so ferociously, and he just kind of conducts traffic when he's out there, even if it's just like taking a short pass, giving it back to someone, making a bit of movement, then switching the play, reversing the play. So I think it's way too early to think about this sort of thing with him. He's still got a few really solid years ahead of him. And maybe, we need to strengthen around him so he doesn't have to play every single match. That would be my opinion.
I think we also need to recognize that, yes, it would be nice to keep Henderson around, but it's not as simple as, all right, Hendo, we'll extend your contract by 2 years. He wants a pay raise, and I think he deserves it. He deserves the pay raise. I want to make this very, very clear.
Does he really want? Or is it just agent talk? Because his agent's probably sat there seeing Saul being rumoured to be coming in on 220 grand a week. Henderson's on what reported 150, 160, isn't he? He's probably thought, he's the captain of that football club, and you're going to go buy someone and bring him in on 200 grand.
He wants more money.
So it's agent talk. Agents have to get the best deal for the client. So do I really believe Jordan Henderson sat there refusing to sign a contract based on money? Not at all. I think he's the best person in that, to be honest with you.
I think money is the entire reason that he hasn't signed a contract. FSG want him to sign either a plateau in wages or a decrease in wages to stay around.
Am I thinking too much into it in a sense of Jordan Henderson was the captain who got all the captains together to stop the Super League and cost John Henry 400 million? So he's like, you ain't getting a contract off me. Is that possible?
He's too much of a businessman.
You sound like a teenage girl, like when there's a bit of drama going on in school, mate. You're putting too many pieces together, mate.
You never know, though, do you? Because they'll see the comment there. James Milner's 35, and last year 34. He got a renewal. He got another year renewal last year. James Milner. Why is Henderson even being rumoured and not getting one?
Milner doesn't have the injury problems that Henderson does. He's older, yes. And he's also making less. They're both making.
Milner had a few injuries last season. He had a good few injuries last season, Milner.
One or two, but nothing.
Yeah.
So here, let me put it this way then. If re-signing Henderson means you can't sign a Renato Sanchez or a Jeremy Doku because you have to give him those wages, and it doesn't make sense to bring in someone to upset that, is that worth it then, Maddie? If re-sign your captain, giving him what he's deserving, upsets your squad's ability to rebuild. Are you being too sentimental at it?
I agree with this comment here. Jordan Henderson's the most important player in that Liverpool team. We've seen so often in games where Henderson hasn't played, Liverpool being so poor. When he's back in the team, it's like there's the fire back in the team. He is the leader. You've seen in the Euro quarter-final against Ukraine, when Jordan Henderson came on and England had that period of dominance for 5-10 minutes, Henderson was dictating the whole time. He was dictating. He's a born leader on the pitch. He's learned from Steven Gerrard, who is the best person I've ever seen play for Liverpool. And I completely agree with comments that I can't believe the disrespect that the captain of this football club, who's guided us to a Premier League and Champions League, his Club Cup and a Super Cup, is not being rewarded with the deal that he wants. We've just let Gini, a player in his prime, in my opinion, leave for free. He's probably going to go win the Champions League with PSG next year. Ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's all whataboutery. I think if you think about it, if you take all, as I said, take all emotion out of it. All right, 30-year-old player now. All right, captain or 31-year-old player. Sorry. Wants to be valued as much as, say, Mohamed Salah or, say, Virgil van Dijk. Do you think that personally, I love Hendo and I want him to renew his contract, but he wouldn't be on the team sheet before those two. Not for me.
No.
Yeah,
I've seen a comment here about Ox and Naby. He's definitely on the team sheet before them too.
Yeah, but go on,
Yeah,
Charles.
I 100% agree. But the thing is, it's like we're rumored of like heavily bringing in a midfield this season. Who is most likely going to be good enough to replace Henderson? Because at the moment, the two nailed-on starters in the midfield are Thiago and Fabinho. I think every Liverpool fan will agree that, and then that third spot is open for debate. And I think another thing as well, obviously everyone's saying, oh, FSG, I saw Dan say something about the Independent piece from the quote saying that FSG wanted Henderson out for years. I think people are putting a lot of thingio on FSG. I don't think FSG really have anything to do with contracts. It's most likely Michael Edwards, and I know a lot of people praise Michael Edwards with all the deals he's done, but I think like if you want to criticize FSG, you need to criticize Michael Edwards on the contract situation.
Can we also address that disrespecting the captain are quoteless articles from journalists? The club hasn't done anything.
Yeah,
this is either just agent talk.
Don't you not honestly think the club are feeding the agents that information? Too many reliable journalists said it at the exact same time, so it's out there because it's true. The club feed the journalists what they want them to hear. That information is out there because it is true. Too many reliable journalists have said it now for it to not be true.
But James Pearce said for about 3 or 4 months that Thiago wasn't going to sign.
No, it wasn't. It hasn't just been him who said it, though, is it? Like you've had
loads of people.
Yeah, you've had more or less everyone saying that the Hendo could look to go. And I've seen reports that we've even offered him as part of the Saul deal. Like, if that's true, it's ridiculous and it's just pure disrespect. Like, this man's a Liverpool. We done a do you not feel that documentary we done last year about Hendo, 10 years of red, or the start of this year, was more or less a goodbye to Jordan Henderson off the club? One of the best documentaries I've ever seen. And to me now, I feel like that was a goodbye, and it's crap.
I think it's in an ideal world, right? You would want Henderson to stay around. But when you think about that, there is money for transfers, there's money for contract extensions. What are the priorities for contract extensions? If you ask me, it's Salah, Van Dijk, Alisson, a Trent or a Robertson. They're criminally underpaid. Jones, has he gotten a new contract? He
got one the start of last season there to reflect his role, so we probably won't get a new one for a few more years. Jones.
At rank where Henderson's contract need to extend is based on what his contributions on the field. If you ask me, it's 5th, 6th. And so I think you have to address a lot of contracts before you get to Henderson.
I'm going to be controversial and say I think Henderson's contract's top priority. He's the captain of football club. He's the captain of Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, the thing with contracts, I think, like a reliable journalist come out and said that Naby Keita, he thought Naby Keita will sign a contract this year. Neil Jones at the goal, like pretty good source for Liverpool. He said that he thinks that Keita's going to sign. I don't see how they're placing Keita above Henderson. That's something that baffles me. Henderson definitely isn't top for me. I think the main thing, Van Dijk, Salah needs to be 100% done as soon as possible. Give
and
them
Fabinho as well.
Yeah,
Charlie, what that suggests to me is that the issue isn't player priority, because there's no reason, there is no possible way Michael Edwards or FSG rates Keita ahead of Henderson. Like, that's just not something that I'm willing to entertain. What that means to me is that the money is the issue with Henderson and not with Keita. So Keita's
we're speaking about people, Jack, who don't really probably know anything about football, and they base it all on stats. So statistically, in the minutes that Keita's played, he's probably got better numbers than Henderson, because Keita's played a far lesser minutes. And in that sense, like, they're looking at our database, and he's younger than Henderson. So I can understand why they're doing it from that point of view. But for me, Jordan Henderson's the most important player in the squad. He's the captain. Steven Gerrard had a clause in his contract that he had to be the highest paid player in the team. So if Jordan Henderson gets 220 grand a week and someone bounces into Michael Edwards' office and says, I want 200 grand because Endo's got that, the response should be, he's the captain, shut up. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but he's not Steven Gerrard, Matty.
Yeah, but Steven Gerrard is the greatest player I've ever seen play for Liverpool, hands down. But Jordan Henderson is just as much a legend. He's won us the Premier League. He is. Yeah. Every single member of that squad is an absolute Liverpool legend, and Jordan Henderson guides us to that.
I'm not debating that, mate, but he's not Steven Gerrard in terms of what Steven Gerrard... Like, I can give Henderson... Arguably, I think Henderson's a better captain than Gerrard was. but Jarrod was so singly important to what Liverpool were that he had to be paid that. Henderson doesn't have to be paid that. Liverpool will move on and be like okay without Henderson, whereas Jarrod, it took 3 or 4 years to really, get back to where we should have been.
I honestly think we're disrespecting too much. Similar to like with City, with the company, they let him go and didn't replace him, and arguably that's why they lost the league. They were poor without him until they got Ruben Diaz. That's what that's what fixed them.
I think the issue then is, so looking at Liverpool contracts, Henderson is currently the 6th highest paid player, £140,000 a week. Ahead of him is Alisson, needs a renewal. Virgil van Dijk needs a renewal, and Mohamed Salah, who needs a renewal, as well as Roberto Firmino and Thiago. We're also not talking about Sadio Mane, who's only on $100,000 a week. He's either going to need to be sold pretty soon, or he's going to need a contract extension. So, Maddie, I think I understand the deep need for Hendo to be deserving of a contract as he's a captain. But the issue is his contributions on the field. I think he's replaceable in what he does on the field. In the locker room, irreplaceable. What he can do on the field, it is replaceable by a Saul, by maybe, I don't want to say Renato Sanchez just yet, but there are options to replace him. So I think that might be what makes the breaking point with Henderson. I hope he stays around for 2 more years. And I would prefer for him to walk on a free than for us to sell him with 2 years left on his contract when he's at his prime.
And Henderson, he's not the most technically gifted midfielder in the team. He's not. Like you're saying, he is easily replaceable, but then he's not replaceable in terms of what he is in the dressing room. You're taking that out of it. You're taking that leader out of it. Don't forget, Milner's going to go next year. So that's another leader taken out the dressing room. The year later, you're going to have Jordan Henderson taken out the dressing room. And then at that point, Van Dijk's 32, so he's not fitting into FSG's model of wanting to keep players who are older. And I'd riot if they got rid of him. Do you know what I mean? But
Van Dijk could play till he's 36.
Van Dijk's the next captain, in my opinion. He will take over Henderson. You'll probably see Van Dijk be captain more than Henderson this season. But you can't take Henderson out as that leader because you're losing Milner, you're losing Henderson. Thiago will be 31, 32 at that point. So how many more years would he stay? He's probably a leader, role model for the younger players. So at that point, you're looking at your team thinking, who is the stature leaders within the club?
But surely that's 2 more years to give, say, Andy Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold that leadership status in the dressing room, right?
Yeah, it is. And Trent probably is a leader. He's the scout lad in the team. He probably is a leader. And every time he puts his armband, you can see he loves it. And I love that about him. But why not keep Henderson around and let him see his career out? I personally think we made a mistake letting Jarrod go. I don't want to make the same mistake with Henderson. Not in terms of ability, because Steven Gerrard is the best there is, the best there was, the best there'll ever be. In terms of leader, Henderson's as good a leader as Steven Gerrard was.
I do understand the comparisons. Carter, I'm not with you on this. I'm not with you. Carter,
this is the same player who's saying that Jordan Henderson needs to be legged and he wants to bring in Ruben.
Carter, I've agreed with some of your takes.
I think he must have been messing around. He must have been messing around.
It is a bit scary when I'm agreeing with his takes when he might have been.
One player I'd take out of that pool of Chelsea players who are just not near the squad really probably be Hudson-Odoi, not Loftus-Cheek.
Yeah, that'd be a good one actually. So Maddie, I think the last talk. There's been a lot of Henderson talk, which actually quite surprised me. The last thing I want to say, I'll pose it to everyone actually because it's been Maddie versus the world right now. So Jordan Henderson's contract, if that comes and flies in the face of making a 24-year-old acquisition that could help us for the next half decade, so signing Henderson stops that from happening. Are you taking Henderson over a signing for the future? Maddie, yes or no?
I don't know. I honestly don't know, Jack. I can't answer that because I'm excited by some of the kids I've seen in the academy, but then you don't know who will still be here and would make the cut because in recent years we've only seen Curtis and Trent come out the academy.
I'm talking like the money for a Henderson renewal stops you from getting a Saul. That's what I'm saying. Is so you can't go out into the market and buy somebody because of Henderson.
If renewing Henderson stopped getting someone like Saul in, then yeah, I'd say don't renew him and just let him stay out the next 2 years because in the next 2 years he might be forced to retire at 33 anyway because of his injuries. You never know what can happen in 2 years. But I do think it's just mad that it's even spoken about that he's not the disrespect. It's just disrespect.
So Chris, same question: Henderson contract renewal or a signing in the midfield forward? So instead of getting 2 signings for a forward and a midfielder, you only get 1. Which one are you taking?
Yeah, I would say let him run down his contract. If I'm being honest with you, that would be my choice. Get someone new in, let him nurture them maybe, as well. It's a bit like having Milner around. I don't think Henderson's got the durability of Milner. I think he'll retire 2 or 3 years earlier. But yeah, I honestly love him. I'm going to get him on the back of my shirt this year. He's one of my favourite players to ever play a game for Liverpool. I'm one of my favourite humans actually on this planet. But nah, I wouldn't put him on the level of our really, really top players in terms of salaries.
Jarrod, same question to you.
I mean, I would kind of counter that with what if we cash in on one of the front 3 maybe in there while they are in their prime years, which I know is very hot topic. It's kind of it's changed for me year to year. I mean, in terms of like Mane versus Salah, like I'd say 1920 Mane looked sharper, but then this past season Salah just looked so much better, and Mane looked like a shell of himself at times. So I don't know. I mean, you saw Mane when he got upset after we beat United, which was a massive match for top 4 implications this past season, and the questions arise about how much he loves the club, what he's willing to sacrifice. So, maybe a Mane sale to like a Real Madrid or something like that for a lot of money, and then renew Henderson, and then still make 1 or 2, maybe 3 signings with that money. Man. I don't know. It's controversial, but I agree with Maddie in terms of like when you're on a pitch and you go a goal down in like a crazy intense match and there's 50,000 fans around, who's that calming presence? Who's the motivator? Who's the person who can like dictate things and pull strings? And I do think that's kind of like something that doesn't translate on paper always, and that Henderson is just like so special in that regard. But it's tough. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, you saved it at the end there. You kind of just took the question and just like, let's just sell someone else. It's not even the next question. Charlie, wrap us up there on the Henderson debate.
Yeah, I think best thing to do, let his contract run down, get another midfielder in, because you say obviously the leader aspect of it, but the amount of leaders we have in the squad, Van Dijk, Netherlands captain, Robertson, Scotland captain, not Van Dijk, Trent was Liverpool under everything captain for his whole academy career, Mane, Senegal vice captain, Salah, I think he's captain now for Egypt. Like, you look through that squad, Curtis Jones as well, another one who's come up through the academy as the captain of pretty much all the squads. I mean, yeah, he's the best leader in there. Or Naby, another one. Like, there's a lot. There's a lot in there who have been captains. We have a lot of leaders. That's probably one of our biggest aspects. But in 2 years, I think it's the perfect amount of time. Henderson's starting to dip off now. He's coming towards his end of his career. Like, he may only have another 2 years after the end of the contract. So I think let him go. I wouldn't sell him. I mean, you'll probably get a fair few million if you sold him now, but definitely wouldn't sell him. But I'd 100% bring in somebody like Sal, or even preferably Camavinga, who's available for buttons at the moment.
Can I add one more thing, Jack? I've got one more point. What if we let it run down? He's for this season. Say, okay, right. If you play 30 games this season, you get a 1-year contract extension at the end of the season. Therefore, meaning that his availability is, if he is available for 30 games, then maybe he gets an extra contract extension. I don't know how much he'd be aroused to that, but
yeah, I think that's the thing I would say is, would he feel like, hey, what the hell is this? I'm your captain. Don't give me this. Get paid as you play. It's an interesting debate, and it's a really, really tough one. And I don't.
One last thing with just off Carter's comments here. I believe keeping Henderson's essential for someone like Bellingham, because it's obvious how much Bellingham looks up to Henderson. I do think Jude Bellingham will play for Liverpool one day. I genuinely believe his family must adore the club, and he's probably named Jude after the tune "Hey Jude" from the Beatles as well, more than likely. I can't wait for him to come and play for Liverpool, but I do think that Henderson would help bed Bellingham in more, and he probably is a long-term Henderson replacement. But the man idolizes Hendo, so why get rid of him before you bring him in to learn from him?
I think it's really, really tough. What you do, it's difficult because I mean I don't relish the position FSG, Michael Edwards find themselves in, where you have this club legend. It's very comfortable saying that word with Henderson, and you have to choose: is he worth the money? I think you can have this argument all day. I'm glad we had a short version of the argument, but that is where I will end our stream here today. Jarrod, glad to have you on the stream. Definitely gonna have you on next few weeks as we get towards the end of the window. Maddie,
Thank you,
Chris, I see you guys always, so it's not as exciting as to see you guys. But Charlie,
Yeah, I actually despise seeing you every day of my life.
that is going to do it for our stream here today, though. Make sure to go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Had a video on Bowen come out earlier today if you want to learn a bit more about the potential transfer that Maddie absolutely adores and he's excited to see play for Liverpool.
Look at all the red. Look at all the red on his stats.
That is true. That is very true. And thank you very much for everyone engaging with the stream. It was a really lively time this Thursday. If you're in England, try and stay out of the heat. Try and stay cool. And we'll be back on the channel with another stream next few days, more videos next few days. So go subscribe on YouTube, follow us on all the socials. But for myself, Jack, for Maddie, for Chris, for Jarrod, and for Charlie, a big stream here today. Glad to have you here, and we'll see you next time.